Hello and a very warm welcome to ET Studios. We're coming to you from ET Retail's Great India Retail Summit 24. I'm your host Devina Lason. Now here on ET Studios, we bring you engaging and insightful interviews with exclusive conversations with India's top retail and hospitality leaders. So today we're here to talk about balancing tradition and modernity in food and hospitality industry. Without any further ado, it's with great pleasure that I'd like to very warmly introduce my guest today, who's going to tell us all about this. Great welcome to Zorawar Kalra, Managing Director, Massive Restaurants. Welcome, Zorawar. Pleasure to have you here today.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. How's your experience so far at GIRS?
It's fabulous. It's always great to have a platform like this where we can, learn from each other, celebrate each other's victories, get to know what new developments are happening. It's a great platform and a great forum. So it's good to be here.
Excellent. Well, thanks for all your expertise. Just at the onset, Zorawar, so at Massive Restaurants, you're of course constantly innovating. You're constantly trying to keep your audience happy. But how do you approach this aspect of innovation while still keeping alive the authenticity and the heritage of your brand?
Sure. I think, there's this thinking that people have that the restaurant industry is is not tech savvy, it's very slow moving. Actually, the pace of innovation required to just survive in the restaurant industry is perhaps as much as in tech.
Sure.
There's something that you call fast fashion, right? I mean, Zara and these kind of companies, they're constantly changing their fashion apparel and their designs. A restaurant's relevancy will die if it doesn't innovate every 6 to 12 months.
Right, sure.
So the requirement of innovation for restaurants is just as much.
Yes.
And it's imperative for people to understand that in order to stay relevant and to occupy mind space of your patron, and who's got so many options, so many choices, it's always important to constantly innovate, both in your food offering, in your environment, in your service standards. Just keep doing new things, innovative things. And it's fun too. It's a lot of hard work. Imagine having to change a menu every 6 months. It's a lot of hard work, but I think it's essential. So the requirement for innovation and change in the restaurant industry, in my opinion, is even more important than perhaps in phones. Literally, Apple changes its design every 2 years. In 2 years, a restaurant will be shut and gone if it didn't innovate many times in those 2 years. So I think it's it's a challenging thing, but if you embrace it, and if you're excited about the constant innovation, if you keep your team motivated in that direction, and you build a culture around that, and becomes part of your company's DNA, it can be something that can be a weapon.
Yes. Wow. Fascinating. So maybe you've answered this already, but what gives you your competitive edge in the face of such a dynamic industry? There's always a new restaurant. There's always a new fast food. There's always a new luxury dine out. So what gives you your competitive edge?
Innovation, of course, is one of those things that would be required, like mandatory. There's no way you can proliferate or propagate your business in the food space without being heavily innovative. But it's also about focusing on the fundamentals.
Right.
Why do you go to a restaurant? You go there to enjoy yourself, to have a great meal, to enjoy times with your friends and your family, and to have a great, relaxed experience. So if you can provide warm service, great food in a comfortable environment consistently, your restaurant will continue to thrive. Just be careful about the location. If you're choosing a bad location, then even great food and great service can sometimes not work. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. There are enough examples of fabulous restaurants that have thrived for decades in poor locations because of simply the product. So focus on the product. But in my opinion, the modern day patron is looking more than just for food. They're looking for an overall 360-degree experience, which encapsulates service standards, a beautiful looking restaurant, at least a nice, comfortable ambience. Things like the temperature in a restaurant play perhaps an equally important role as the warmth of the service. So there are a lot of nuances in our business. You have to constantly focus on the fundamentals and continue to innovate.
Yeah, wonderful. But speaking of location, I believe you're on the brink of launching a new location here in Mumbai. Is there something you could share with us about
Something very exciting is brewing. I'm very excited about a new concept we're about to launch in Worli, in a fabulous location in the NSCI. It's a almost 20,000 square foot restaurant that is going to be a first super restaurant. So why I call it a super restaurant is because it's going to have 3 different distinct zones. It's going to have an outdoor al fresco dining scene. It's going to have a ground floor, which is really high quality food. And it's going to have a party floor. It's going to have a first floor, which is going to be heavily programmed with great artists, great crowd management, and really strong AC.
Wow.
And we're excited about this super restaurant concept because it's going to help you amalgamate the best of dining and nightlife all in one space.
Fantastic.
So you can actually come here at 7 o'clock
Yeah.
and stay till 1.
Fantastic.
And those 6 hours will be well spent. You can choose to have a nice little time outside, move in for your dinner, and go upstairs and party with some of the best programming that we're doing along with Sunburn.
Yes.
Sunburn is going to be doing the programming for us, so it's a
Wow.
great JV, and I think it's going to be a game-changing concept for this for the city.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it changes the paradigm of dining for
Wow.
Mumbai.
Well, this is part of the innovation that you're talking about. Clearly, yeah, fantastic. And speaking of the product, as you said earlier, of course, the basics is the product and the produce. And another big trend right now is sustainability, right? And sourcing food consciously, locally. How do you manage this at massive restaurants? And of course, across your very wide portfolio, how do you manage to keep the sustainability angle alive?
Yeah. I think it's absolutely integral for us to understand, not just in the food space, but in every facet of human life, that this is the only planet we have, and if we don't take care of it, we'll have no home.
Yes.
So I think James Orwell or somebody wrote this, that it's very strange. I'm forgetting the person who said this, but she said that, she or he, I don't even remember, but this person said that it's strange that the smartest thing to ever walk on the planet is destroying its only home. So I think
Yes,
sustainability
yes,
has
yes.
to be an integral aspect. I think responsibility is the key. And the way to be responsible is to, obviously, from a food perspective, try and go hyper-local as much as you can.
Yeah.
For our Indian restaurants, we're fully hyper-local. Obviously, for our international restaurants, we can't be because ingredient requirements require imported stuff.
Sure.
We try and do away with that. We want to be as indigenous as possible.
Yes.
Buy in India, make in India, eat in India. So we really love that whole India aspect. I'm a big believer in the Indian story.
Yeah.
And the way we work is work with purveyors closely, work with hyper-local farmers, and try and do as much of that as possible. We're also working towards trying to hopefully build a cost-effective organic supply chain
Wow.
where most of our food, should the customer want, will be available organic.
Yes.
But that's going to take some time. I don't have a timeline for it, but we're definitely working towards it. But sustainability is going to form a core ethos
Yes.
of this company going forward. And it needs to be not just for ours, but for every food company in the
Yes.
country. And support your local farmers.
Yeah.
Go hyper-local.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And also, as you alluded to earlier, of course, technology plays such a big role, and really interesting the way you said that restaurants need technology perhaps more than the tech industry. Can you give us some examples of how you're really embracing the use of all these innovations, all the technology coming in at massive restaurants, and how do you manage to leverage the tech but still, again, keep your authenticity and your heritage alive?
Tech is the ultimate tool. I'm not a fan of robots making your food, but apart from that, tech is absolutely essential in every aspect. Purchase, marketing, customer relationship management, feedback management, marketing, and even making images.
Yes.
We are using AI to make images.
Right.
So I want a system where every single thing, and we're about to implement this, I think it should be implemented in the next, this quarter for sure, before the end of the quarter, where everything is going to be digital. So from the ordering to the dispatch to the receiving,
Wow.
everything is going to be done through a system. Obviously, human intervention is required, but it's all going to be automated. In our marketing side of things, we're using some very sophisticated software. We have software that gives us information on reviews.
Sure.
We have software that
Data
gives
analytics.
collects the data, gives us information on lapsed consumers or consumers that you need to re-engage with. So the utilization of tech is super imperative in this super competitive world.
Yes.
The more you embrace and harness this technology
Yes.
in a myriad of fashions,
Yeah.
the more competitive you'll get.
Yeah.
So it's important to embrace it. Luckily, I'm a geek. So I love the use of tech, and we have a very sophisticated MMS system,
Yeah.
material management, like a mini ERP.
Yeah.
We have, obviously, we use AI for a lot of stuff. I can't wait for the day, and we're hoping to do this, where we can use AI to also place orders automatically.
Wow.
So
Wow.
based on it being linked to the POS as well as to the purchase department, it can figure out, based on the sales of a particular day, what ingredients have been
Wow.
consumed,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then automatically place indents to the warehouse, so the warehouse can send
Wow.
that raw material or that product to our various kitchens and cloud kitchens.
Wow.
In the cloud space, which is now a big part of our business, almost 38% of our total revenue now comes from cloud, which didn't even exist 2 years ago. And we're growing, we're literally doubling every quarter in size now. It's a very fast growing business for us. The requirement of tech in cloud is even more so.
Yes.
In fact, I don't think our cloud business is a food business at all. I think it's a food tech business.
Wow.
It's more dependent on tech than our offline business, but it'll be on crutches without it. We can't even function on our. So we have data analysts right now, 3 of them working in our company, whose job it is every day to just collate data, literally granular level data. They collect it from the platforms, from the web, from feedback forms, and collate it in a usable manner. We're also trying to automate a lot of that. A lot of it is already automated, but we're trying to deep dive and mine that data in a way that some of these e-commerce giants do. So there's no difference.
Yes.
We're in the e-commerce of food. So the principles of data management, of the importance of data, the value of data is as important for us
the same.
as it is for them.
Fascinating. Great. And, Zorawar, of course, needless to say, the pandemic brought such a shift in customer expectations, patterns. How did you manage to deal with it then? And how has it changed the landscape for you now?
The pandemic was a big wake-up call. I think it shook everybody to the bone. And it created a crisis that produced in it an opportunity.
Yes.
I always believe there's a silver lining. I always believe there's an opportunity in every crisis. I hope we don't get too many of them. But if you get them, you should try and learn something from it. Yes. And I also firmly believe, and I might sound cliched when I say this, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yes. And every restaurant industry that came out of it, nobody came out unscathed. Everybody got affected. But whoever came out is now stronger than ever before. Wow. Our last quarter was the best in our history. We've learned a lot. We've learned to control our costs, not be frugal, not to become more frugal, not to be, not to be overspending on things. Yes. We've learned to analyze P&L line items even deeper. We've learned to rationalize costs. A lot of those things have happened. But for me, the real silver lining was our delivery business. Yes. Going into the pandemic, March 20th, I think, 2020, I had 0 revenue from delivery.
Is it?
Yeah. And I opened my first cloud kitchen a year later. So I think around, let's say, May or June of 2021.
Sure. So
it's actually been 2.5 years, and it's now almost 40% of our business. Wow. And it's soon going to be, to be honest, I think it's going to be over a 50% mark by the end of this quarter. Wow. So the pandemic, in my case, helped me develop an entire new vertical of business, which I would not have gotten in because I was against delivery. If you spoke to me at that time, if I gave this interview, I would have said, I don't like delivery. I can't control the environment. I don't know how it's going to be shaped. I'm using a third party, all that stuff. That's fine. And yes, does food taste better in a restaurant than it does home delivered? Of course. Yeah. It's fresh. It just came out. Here it's traveled for 30 minutes. It's physics. You can't fight physics. The laws of physics are the only reality. Everything else is just a recommendation, right? So Elon Musk said this. So I think it's important to respect the physics of it, but also we love the delivery business now. And the pandemic taught us this. So pandemic has given us an altogether new vertical, which I feel is going to be the biggest part of this company going forward.
That's quite a silver lining you have there. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zorawar. Before we wrap up, just any last key takeaways or trends that you could share that you foresee happening in the hospitality and F&B industry?
I think the potential for the Indian F&B industry is unlimited. I think it's just we've not even scratched the film on the tip of the iceberg. It's that big. The upside is fully there. And we're a country that's gaining wealth. Indians love eating out more than any other form of entertainment. Yes. We're 40 times larger than Bollywood. We're the biggest form of entertainment for Indians in India. I think the takeaway or at least for viewers that are wanting to get into the business is, I think get into it for the right reasons. Sure. Don't get into it for the glamour or for it being an extension of your drawing room. Get into it because you believe in it, because you care about the food business, you care about making people happy, because we're in the happiness giving business. That's our business, really. People celebrate their life's precious moments in our establishments. So it's important to have that sense of responsibility. And if you get into it for the right reasons and you're fundamentally strong on those things that I mentioned earlier, then it can be arguably the most rewarding business in the world.
Very inspiring. Thank you so much, Zorawar. Absolute pleasure talking to
Thank
you
you.
today. Thanks for all your insights. Really wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's all we have for you on this episode of ET Studios, but do stay tuned for many more such exciting conversations where we give you the exclusive opportunity to gain valuable insights from the most influential retail leaders who are driving innovation and advancements in their industries. Until the next episode, many thanks for watching.